So what does it take to completely change how we see a major historical figure? Well, today, we're not just going to talk about the last Shah of Iran. We're going to dive into the one book that basically tore down decades of myths to show us the real man. It's a great example of what makes a biography a real game changer.
And here he is, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the last Shah of Iran. You know, depending on who you talk to, this guy was either a visionary who was trying to modernize his country, or he was a brutal tyrant. His legacy is without a doubt one of the most polarizing of the 20th century, and believe me, that debate is nowhere near over.
So that's the real problem, isn't it? When you've got a figure who's just buried under all these layers of propaganda and myths from all sides, how do you even begin to find the truth? Well, in this case, the answer came from a totally new way of telling his story. And that new approach, it comes from this book, A Look at the Shah by Abbas Milani. And look, this wasn't just another biography to add to the pile. No, this was a fundamental shift, a whole new way of looking at and understanding the Shah.
So what made it so different? Well, it was all about the approach. Instead of, pushing some kind of political agenda, it went for something way harder, a balanced, critical, and really nuanced picture. It treated the Shah not as some kind of symbol, but as the complicated human being he actually was.
But hey, don't just take my word for it. When this book came out, the response from critics was, well, it was huge. Let's take a look at what some of the heavy hitters in publishing had to say.
Okay, first up, Publishers Weekly. They loved its depth, calling it a rich and critical picture. So right off the bat, you know this isn't some quick summary. This is a real deep dive into the man behind the title.
Then you have the Chicago Tribune, which pointed out its objectivity. They said it was free from polemic. Now, for a topic this explosive, that is a huge deal. It means the author was committed to the facts, not just stirring up arguments.
And the Wall Street Journal straight up called it the most important journal. I mean, that's a massive endorsement. They're basically saying, if you want to understand this topic, this is the book you have to read. It positions it as absolutely essential.
Okay, so this begs the question, right? How did one single book manage to slice through decades of biased takes to become the definitive story? I mean, what's the secret sauce? What gave it that authority?
The answer? It really comes down to the research. The absolutely massive, unprecedented scale of it. That's what made its credibility pretty much undeniable.
See, this book wasn't built on old rumors or, political he said, she said. The author, Abbas Milani, based his work on thousands, literally thousands, of original documents. And the kicker? A lot of this stuff had only just been declassified. And just look at where these documents came from. We're talking declassified records from England, from America, and from Iran itself. Taking this kind of international approach gives you this incredible 360-degree view. It let the author check one country's records against another's to build the most accurate picture possible. And this slide, this really sums up the book's impact perfectly. Before this book, right, the common view was shaped by propaganda. The Shah was just this one-dimensional caricature. But after, thanks to all these new documents, we get to see a complex, multifaceted person. Like, suddenly, the iron-fisted ruler from the posters is revealed to be a man who was often paralyzed by indecision. And that's a detail you could only discover by, say, comparing his private letters to official American memos. It just completely replaced the myth with reality.
Okay, so this is all really interesting history for sure. But you might be thinking, why does a book about a king who lost his throne over 40 years ago even matter now? Well, the answer is, it's probably more relevant today than ever before.
The San Francisco Chronicle really hit the nail on the head with this. If you want to understand what's happening in Iran today, the political movements, the social changes, you absolutely have to understand the history that got them there. And this book, it gives you that crucial backstory.
And yeah, there's just no way you can make sense of the super complicated relationship between Iran and America right now without getting a handle on the Shah's era. That was the time when that whole relationship was built, put to the test, and, well, ultimately broken. This history is basically the foundation of today's geopolitics.
But in the end, this might be the book's single greatest gift. As Booklist points out, it doesn't tell you what to think. It just lays out the evidence, the context, the facts, and then it gives you the chance to judge for yourself. It really empowers you, the reader, to come to your own conclusions. So when you boil it all down, this isn't just about one guy or one book. It's really about the power of solid, fact-based research to totally reshape how we understand things. It shows that the past is never really gone,
And it leaves us with this one big question to chew on. What other parts of our history or even our present would look totally different if we could just see the full story?